My life radically changed from on £138 a week maternity to was in a position that my husband could quit his job.
Meet Noor Hibbert, mindset and manifestation coach, international speaker, and best-selling author. Noor knows what it's like to feel stuck and overwhelmed. She's been there herself.
And I was sat on my bed with my mum crying, and I said to her, like, I'm broken. I need to be fixed.
By transforming her mindset and beliefs, she turned her life around. Noor discovered that success in life and business isn't just about having a plan.
If you put 10 people into a room and you gave them all exactly the same strategy, what percentage of those people do you think will actually execute on that? Less than 20.
It's about what's going on inside your mind, the beliefs that you hold, the stories you tell yourself, and the feelings that you have about what's possible for you.
If you consciously want money, but you have a belief that is in contradictory to that, your subconscious mind will always win.
Her unique approach blends practical mindset tools with powerful manifestation techniques, which empowers people everywhere to break through their limits and create a life that they truly love. In this podcast episode, Noor is teaching you how to shift your mindset, break free from overwhelm, and step into your next level. What is one thing that business owners should stop doing today if they want to grow their business?
If they want to grow their business, stop thinking that...
Noor Hibbert, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Well, I must be a great manifester, just getting that off the just out there, because I literally came across your content. I've read one of your books a couple of years ago, actually.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then I came across you again and I was like, I need to get Noor on the podcast. And the universe was just like, done. She's done. She's here.
Manifested. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very, very, very grateful. And excited.
I'm so excited to hear your story, because you have literally helped thousands and thousands of people to transform their mindsets, learn about manifesting, learn about the law of attraction, and change their life. So let's start with your journey into this work. How did it come about?
Well, let's give you the really short version, so we're not here for 17 days. When I was 23 years old, I had got to a point, I was sat on my bed with my mum and I was crying, and I said to her, I'm broken. There's something really wrong with me. I need to be fixed. And at the age of 16, I had been diagnosed with depression. At the age of 19, I'd been diagnosed with anxiety. I'd been on various different pills. I'd, tried therapy and things like that. But at 23, I just felt a sense of complete, I'm at a loss here. Life shouldn't feel this difficult. I'd been through so much that most people by my age shouldn't have really gone through in their life, but I had. And I always believe that when the student is ready, the teacher sort of appears. Yeah. And I was reading Cosmopolitan magazine one day, and there was kind of this, and this was obviously years ago, 23. I was 23.
Well, you look like 25.
I was 3 years ago. and it had this book called The Secret in it. Yeah. And I sort of mentally noted to read this book. My mum at that point was working for a network marketing company, and we thought she'd joined a cult because she was super positive, and suddenly her office was filled with all these books. And so I remember one day going into my mum's office, and I don't really know what I was even looking for, just perusing this newfound love of books and self-development she had. And I swear to God, this book fell off the shelf, and I looked at it and I was like, it was The Secret. So I started to read it, and I got this sense of real excitement. I'm so going to do this. This is going to work for me. And I remember one day deciding I'm going to go to Sainsbury's. I'm going to get a scratch card, and I am going to fucking win 100 grand. That's it. It's going to happen. So I visualized it like the book said. I was driving there like Billy Big Balls, ready to go win 100 grand, 23 years old. And I got to Sainsbury's, bought the scratch card, scratching, and I won absolutely nothing. And I remember at that point thinking, I really wanted this to work. I really, really wanted this to work. And I think that was the first time that I sort of thought, this is probably a load of bollocks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a few years later that I was in a really difficult place again in my life. I think the universe, without me realizing, had already kind of set things up for me. And I kind of got back into personal development, and someone came into my life who talked to me about manifestation in a way that I hadn't heard before. And I started to read books by Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks. And also at that point, I I began my journey of becoming a coach. What I then started to realize was this idea of spirituality and connecting to this higher, whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, source, whatever, was more than just, I need to visualize it and be positive. And as I became a coach and I started to understand the mind and how it worked, all of these missing pieces started to be put together for me. And I was practicing manifestation in a very, very different way, in a much more deeper way than create a vision board and visualize it and say affirmations and be positive. I understood that things were different. And it took me a while. Like it took me, that was the beginning again of me kind of going into it. And that was in 2015. So I then committed, became obsessed, one might call it, with really understanding how does this work?
Yeah.
How can I really get a process that I can apply? And over the years, I realized, oh my goodness, like this is fucking working. And my life radically changed from, being on £138 a week maternity benefit to having to ask my, boyfriend at the time or husband at the time, like, can I borrow 30 quid to buy a Topshop jumper? I think Topshop's coming back, by the way, which I'm really excited about. Can we just start the podcast? But to then going to return it because I felt so guilty to, a few years after that, in 2017, I actually was in a position that my husband could quit his job.
Yeah.
So once I started to understand things at a much deeper level, things rapidly started to change in my life. And so my journey, definitely that was like, the cliff notes, but essentially it was realizing that the books like The Secret were missing fundamental elements that enable someone to really truly harness manifestation. We're all manifestors.
Yeah.
We're all manifesting 24/7, 365 days a year. Whether you like it or not, we are manifesting. But most people, and including myself previously, were manifesting a life that we didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really the journey that I've been on.
I love that. And when you say like you started to understand it on a deeper level, because I agree, my journey started with Law of Attraction with The Secret as well. And it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then when you say I went deeper, what do you mean by that? Like frequency, energy, kind of that kind of way. What do you mean by you went deeper? Because some people might be listening to this going, well, I've done vision boards and I do visualize it. What does she mean by deeper?
Absolutely. Great question.
Thanks.
So what I mean by that is we are human beings, but we're very, very complex in our nature. We have multiple energy layers to ourselves. We have the physical body that we can see, that you can touch. And then there's the non-tangible part of ourselves. Let's call that the spiritual self.
Yeah.
The spiritual self is where I believe your soul is based. Your soul is essentially the blueprint of who you are. And my personal belief is that soul has been through many lives and will continue to go through many lives. There's physical part of us that we call our body. And then we have our brain. That's comprising of that kind of physical part of our mind, the brain. But there's also a non-physical part of our mind. So we have this complexity of being this sort of like spiritual being, when I say spirit, this invisible soul-based energy, and having to coexist with our physical body with these two different facets of our mind. So we have this soul part of you that like knows what you want, has dreams, has desires. The way I like to say it is like we've kind of got this like invisible microchip within us, and within it is all the data of everything that's possible for us, everything that's blueprinted for you. But then we have the human self, and our human self and our human mind is complex. It's got two facets to it. Our conscious mind, which is the intellect, the logic, the reasoning, the creativity, the imaginational part of our mind, but it's only responsible for 5% of what we do. So that's the part of our mind that we use to make the vision board, to say, I want to be wealthy, I want to manifest love. That part of our mind that's the part of the mind that's involving in that. However, that's 5%. The 95% is in the subconscious mind. So as I came on my journey of coaching, I had a degree in psychology. I then went and did a postgrad in coaching psychology and business executive coaching. I then trained with Tony Robbins. I trained in hypnotherapy. And every single year I've done this, it's to deepen my understanding of the subconscious mind. Why? Because our subconscious mind is where those beliefs of who we are held. And if we think about law of attraction, so law of attraction, the difference to manifesting is the art and science of turning your thoughts into reality, seeing those desires come into fruition in your 3D world. Law of attraction is a vehicle to do that. It's one of the laws that helps manifestation happen. And it states that like attracts like. And a lot of people don't understand this, but it's talking about the vibrational frequency of what you put out. And the vibration of what you put out is a byproduct of your emotions, energy and motion. Your emotions are a byproduct of your thoughts, and your thoughts are a byproduct of your beliefs. Most people aren't thinking consciously what they're thinking every day. We're just thinking stuff. It's automated. It's our brain decoding information from the 3D world through our 5 senses. It's going through, being filtered through our paradigm, our filter of the world, which I'll explain to you in a second what that means. And then it's creating those thoughts on automation. And why does this matter? Well, if you consciously want money, you consciously want to manifest love, but you have a belief that is in conflict or contradictory to that, your subconscious mind will always win. So for example, you know, if you lived in a household, like I lived in a household where my parents would always say to me, you need to finish all the food on your plate.
Yep.
No matter how full you are, finish all the food on your plate. Oh, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. You need to work hard for this. So as a child, up until the age of like 8 or 9, our subconscious mind is like a big sponge, and it is soaking in all of this information, everything we see, we hear, and experience. It creates these subconscious stories, scripts as I call them. These are the stories that we live by. So imagine like you're the actress in this film of your life, and as a child you get handed these scripts, and it's like you believe this, you act like this, you talk like this, you hold your head in this way, and you will faithfully act out that script because that's what's within your subconscious mind. So if you as a child saw your parents arguing over money, and in that moment, you felt scared because you're a little child, your parents who are your primary caregivers are arguing about money. Your little mind sees, my mummy and daddy are arguing, this feels unsafe, they're shouting. I can hear this word money. So now their little mind has put 2 and 2 together and got 156. A completely wrong equation, which is they're shouting about money. I'm now in threat. Money is bad. So now that belief is stored in the paradigm. And that is what is actually running the show. You say, I want money, but your mind is saying, no, money's bad. Don't you remember when you were 8 years old and mummy and daddy fought over money and you were scared? Don't go for money. And this happens in every single facet of our life because we are primitive beings designed for safety and survival, and our primary caregivers and those formative years form such an important foundation of our beliefs around money, food, love, success. You name it, it's there. So when I talk about the deeper, I mean, let's get fucking deep, basically. Yeah, we got to go deeper. And when we do that, we unlock our manifestation powers.
Okay. Well, there's no surprise already, just a few moments into this podcast, that you are undoubtedly the expert in it, which is why you've gone on to coach and write books and, you know, have your own podcast, which we're going to get to further down the line. But so when it comes to like most people, they struggle to take action on their dreams. Do you think that this is the reason why they struggle to take action on the dreams? Do they get paralysis because the subconscious is going, them dreams are scary? Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. You've nailed it.
Okay.
But
let's done. I'm the new manifesting expert.
So let me break this down. So things like procrastination is a safety mechanism. It's a defense mechanism to keep us safe. So we're always thinking about that subconscious mind is there to be like the bouncer in your life. Like, is this going to be a good decision or not? And when we're doing anything new in life, and let's be honest, if you're trying to manifest something, it means that that thing isn't existing in your life already. It's new.
Yeah.
And if you haven't experienced that experience before, your mind doesn't have data of whether that experience is going to be safe, useful, and valuable to you. And so it doesn't have data, and you're like, I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. I'm going to go and manifest the love of my life. But the only data that it has is the toxic boyfriend at 15, the one that cheated at 19, the one that was abusive to you at 21. What do you think is going to happen when you try to take action? Your mind's going to go, shut this shit down immediately. You're not doing that. And you will start to feel, emotions in your body that we might explain as the fight or flight response. So subconscious mind is working tirelessly to run so many different elements of your body. You don't have to think about how to breathe. Yep. You don't have to think about how to take a wee. You have to think about, oh, I must make sure my blood pumps today. You don't think about that. Your subconscious mind is running everything in your body, from your digestive to your nervous system, etc. So whenever any level of threat, anything that even slightly could affect your safety and survival comes into your, in through your senses, the mind will alert the nervous system. And you have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system gets activated when we're in fight or flight, which means a threat has been perceived. But in our life now, our subconscious mind doesn't understand the fact that we are now in 2025, we're not tribal beings, we're not going to get attacked by lions or woolly mammoths, but now we have new threats. The government, money, going on holiday and it not being good weather is a threat to us.
It really is.
I'm so anxious. Checking the iPhone.
That's me.
Whenever your conscious mind is thinking about something over and over again, the subconscious gets the message that this is something to be aware of and a potential threat. So when we're worrying about things or thinking about things, the subconscious gets the memo that this is something that's a threat. It doesn't know if it is or not. It doesn't have the ability to discern that. It's just going off what you are consciously looking at. But if we're tribal beings and we're out in the woods, we're like, or the jungle, wherever we lived in the caves, when we're like, if we go out hunting today, is there going to be a lion or woolly mammoth? Now it's, if I get up today, can I pay my bills? So that becomes a new level of threat. So subconscious mind, which is, by the way, that the fight or flight system is only meant to be on, like in fight or flight, like it's meant to be pressed on like quickly, like an accelerator, and switched off so that we could run away from a predator. You know, when that fight or flight gets put on in a rabbit to run away from a fox, it's put on quickly so the rabbit can run away, hide, or it gets eaten for dinner, you know, one or the other. But as humans, what's happening is that so much of our life has become a threat that our mind is consistently in fight or flight, even at a chronic level. So if we're in fight or flight, are we thinking about the action that we need to take? Or are we thinking keep safe? Are we, when we're feeling anxious or scared, do we want to sit down and build our dream life? Absolutely not. We need the parasympathetic nervous system to be activated. That's the brake. That puts creativity, intuition, imagination. We can't operate in that way. So what happens is that fight, flight, freeze response. And the freeze response happens because when you are trying to take action and you go into some level of fight or flight because it's scary at a subconscious level and it's so out of our conscious awareness, we don't know this is happening, and there's no woolly mammoth or lion, we freeze. We procrastinate. We don't know what to do. We get stuck because mind is like, oh, you're not biting anything. You're not running from anything. So what's happening here? And we freeze. And so to answer your question, it's a couple of things. The Secret doesn't really talk about action. So a lot of people are misinformed about the importance of action in the physical world. But number two, the right action, which I call into action, which is intuition-led action, can only come when that parasympathetic nervous system is activated. When
Alignment.
we're in a place of ability to receive the guidance, the information, the intuition in order to take that action.
I fucking love that. So for people listening to this, they might be thinking, I don't dare put myself out there on social media. I've got this big, long to-do list to do. I don't know where to start. I want to grow my business, but I don't know what to do. What you're basically saying is when you are working from a place of overwhelm, worry, stress, and that nervous system is completely out of whack and it's not working for you, you're not in a state of alignment or receiving mode. And whilst The Secret is amazing and vision boards are great and, you know, having focus on what you're doing is great, action is required in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. And the correct action is intuitive action, but you can only receive intuitive action if you're aligned. Is that right?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, there's always like strategic action for example, let's say you're brand new in business. You're not necessarily going to intuitively know what the next thing to do is. So we hire mentors and coaches so we can say, what are the steps, okay? But then we still don't take them because it feels scary because our mind is saying, but if you do that, what will happen? And the big, I've worked with thousands of businesswomen, and I would tell you the absolute number one blocker for success and taking action is fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment. And so because that's running the show for most people, and there are other success blockers, but when it comes to taking action, fear is always probably, 70, I've done surveys, I think it's like 68% of people, 70% of people, fear is the number one thing blocking them. So we know that that's a fight or flight response. So one thing that we can start to do is we start to hack the mind by, before we're doing that thing, visualize yourself doing it, getting to the end of it, and asking yourself, like, what's the worst that can happen? Well, someone's going to see me on social media and think I'm an idiot. Okay, see that in your mind and allow yourself to be okay with that. And instead of seeing it and going into worry, see yourself going through the whole process of getting to the other side of it. And we can start to at least signal to the mind, okay, I see what we're doing here. And it's okay. And the reason is because subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It doesn't know the difference. So I'm gonna do a little exercise with you.
Let's do it.
Because and everyone that's listening to this podcast or watching needs to do this. So you close your eyes for a moment. So Alicia, close your eyes. And I want you for a moment to imagine yourself going into your kitchen or wherever you keep your lemons. And you're going to walk up to the lemon drawer or the lemon stand or the lemon bowl, whatever it is. You're going to pick up a beautiful, bright yellow, waxy lemon. It's so juicy. You can already tell because you can smell the citrus on the outside of it. So just smell it in your mind's eye. And now put it down and get a knife. Cut through the lemon. Notice the little droplets. You can notice it's already going to be a little bit of a sour lemon. Pick it up, put it to your mouth and suck on this lemon. Okay, now open your eyes and tell me what happened in your body when you went through that.
I did the whole thing. Funny enough, I cut lemon this morning into my water as well. So my mouth watered, my jaw tingled. So yeah.
I mean, you're mad. It was an imaginary lemon. What are you talking about? And this just shows us that the body will react to imagination. So if you are thinking about posting or doing things in your business and you are focusing on the worry of it, what do you think is going to happen? Your body now is going to signal the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, and you're, as a byproduct, going to end up feeling fear or anxiety based on an imaginary situation. So if you can see it through to completion in a way that feels good, and don't be scared of the baddies, don't be scared of that. See that in your mind, see it through to completion. We start to show the mind there's nothing to be scared of, and it just starts to prime your mind for taking that action.
I love that. So because you kind of started your coaching career and then you unlocked all of this information, what was like the shifts that helped you the most? Like, as in, what were the biggest shifts or blocks that you had that you was just like, oh, and then dealt with them?
Absolutely. So I started my first business, which was actually a products business, in 2015. And let me go back. I started my first businesses in 2013. I had my first daughter, Layla, and I was like, I'm not going back to my job. Like, I'm going to be at home with her. That is my absolute decision. So I tried to set up multiple different businesses within my maternity leave. I went from, trying to sell stuff on eBay to creating a wedding dress shop in the back of my spare bedroom to selling ebooks. Like, honestly, just such a range of things. I almost signed up a franchise for a cleaning company, and my parents were like, you hate cleaning. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is the craziest business idea. But I was so desperate for freedom. And I tried all these different things and it wasn't really working. So I ended up going back to a job that I hated because, well, we needed to survive. We needed money. And in 2015, I set up another business. There was one difference that happened between then, and that was in that time, I started reading a bit more personal development books, a bit more self-development books. So I set up my second business, which is in products. And I actually had to quit my job at 31 weeks pregnant with my second daughter because I was going into early labor. I was in hospital and they put me on the ward. They said, we've got a bed for the baby in intensive care. I remember just lying there in the hospital bed like, if anyone's out there, just keep this baby in. And I promise I will slow down, because at that point, I was working a job that I hated, but it was, a lot of hours per week. I was studying at university to become a coach. I was trying to build a business, and I would literally park up in McDonald's drive-thrus, connect to the Wi-Fi in between client calls to like learn how to build this products business. And baby stayed in, so I quit my job the next day. I didn't go back in. My back was against the wall. So I was like, this business has got to work. So I actually took that business, and it was my first six-figure business that I created over my maternity leave with my second daughter. It gave me the freedom that I had desired. I was making, a few £1,000s a month, but I was doing it from home. And the business itself was actually generating a lot more revenue it was, multiple 5 figures a month in revenue, but I couldn't seem to hold on to the money and I couldn't seem to get it over a certain level. And I kept launching new products and doing this and doing this. And then I decided I'd qualified to become a coach. I did nothing with it for 8 months because I was terrified. I didn't know how to build a coaching business. I didn't know, the online world wasn't really like a thing back then. And I didn't want to like go and work in corporations or stuff because that would mean moving back to London. So I sort of was kind of stuck in this products business. I was like, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to finish it. This is what I've done. So I was kind of doing personal development work. 8 months later, though, I decided to build my coaching business online. And that's when I was introduced to money mindset work and manifestation work at a level that I hadn't really understood when it came particularly to money. And when I started to go into this work and understand my relationship with money at a subconscious level, it shifted everything in such a huge way. And I launched my business, my coaching business, in September 2016. And I have never, ever dropped below a £10,000 month since then. Multi 5 figures in revenue every single month since almost 8 years. I was writing a email earlier on, 8 years and 7 months. Why has that happened? Because the biggest shifts that I create within my subconscious mind was my relationship with money. And this is absolute importance for every single businesswoman, because businesswomen do not fail because of strategy or smarts or ability. They fail because of what's happening in their subconscious mind, and particularly their relationship with money. So that was my biggest shift for me.
Wow, I love that. So if anybody listening to this right now who kind of feels like they're at a place where they're stuck either in their life or business, or they're stuck with the money, what's the first step that you would recommend they take so they can start to see results?
The first step that I would say, I've kind of got a 3-step process.
That's fine, we'll go with 3.
Yeah. It's divided into 2 steps per pillar. The first step is get really clear on your vision of what it is that you really want in your life. Yeah. And there's a difference between like an ego vision and a soul vision. And you'll notice it because often your ego wants things because it's in comparison to others. Well, I want that because so-and-so's got it. I want that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting stuff, but it's what the intention behind it is. If you're doing something because you think it's going to make you feel good in comparison to others, or you don't feel good enough right now, it's a very different frequency than I want to do this because this is my soul calling. When I decided I wanted to become an author and I wanted a book deal, I could not shake it. It was such a deep knowingness in my soul that this was going to happen beyond any like logic. In 2017, I stood and I watched, a speaker and author talk on stage in a room of hundreds of people. And I remember sitting there going, I'm going to be a Sunday Times bestselling author and I'm going to fill a room up with people. It was not from any level of logic. It was a deep knowingness. And it wasn't an ego thing. It was I just felt like I knew that was part of my data, my microchip of who I am and what I was meant to do. So identifying that is really the first point, because otherwise you end up kind of down the rabbit hole of going for things that aren't really meant for you. And you'll find it tiresome and you'll find it difficult and you'll probably get burnt out and frustrated. The next thing is really understanding that we must activate our vision beyond our 3D. As I said before, our world is being decoded by our 5 senses and we are getting that information all the time. So in order to shift who we are, we need to take ourselves out of the 3D, change our brainwave state and take time out to visualize and see ourselves, with our eyes closed and feeling that sensation. Obviously then after that comes up the buts. But I'm not good enough, but I'm this, but I'm that. And that's why then the work of uncovering those unconscious beliefs, that paradigms that are running you, those subconscious stories is really crucial and a part that a lot of people miss. And it's like, I don't have time to sit and work on my beliefs. I don't have time. Well, you're right. You don't have time. The one thing that we don't have is time on this planet. So the quicker you want to create your dream life, the quicker you deal with this, when you make that time, your life will radically change. The next part is subconscious rescripting, which is learning those new stories. We harness the power of neuroplasticity, which is the power of our mind being able to rewire itself and create new identities. So that subconscious mind and those conscious beliefs are working together, not being fragmented because one wants this, but subconscious mind is saying, no, that's not safe. And then we need to, what I call tune into Universe FM. This is a way of being.
Yeah.
Tuning into Universe FM is showing up every single day in the right energy frequency. And this is what a lot of people get wrong, because once again, we're so affected by our 3D experience. And so it requires us to transcend that in a lot of ways. And the quicker we can do that, the quicker that we are going to be the right match for what we want. And the last then is to take the action. You've got to meet the universe halfway. You've got to do what I call heart hustle. Follow your heart and hustle to make those dreams happen. And that takes, particularly in business, right? It takes strategy. You know, we can't just wish and hope our business is going to make millions. There's got to be some strategy behind it. And so that's kind of the process. So I would say the starting point is getting clear on what you want, but understand there is a process to effective manifestation. And that's what I've been trying to understand for the last 10 years. And we now have a process that works, but there are steps. And unfortunately, I can't wave a magic wand and make people's lives change, but I can give you the instruction manual to your magic wand and you can make your life change. But it's down to us as humans to do that.
I also think that the universe rewards you for taking the steps towards that change. I feel like every time I read another book, something changes for me. Like I gain something, whether that's an emotion or a feeling or a physical thing. It's like every time I put the work in on a personal level or on a strategy level or whatever, it's like I win. Even if I lose, I win because I figure out something that is not
growth.
meant to be. Yeah.
It's growth. And I think when we can be in a state of growth, so we have like human needs and we have spiritual needs. And two of our spiritual needs are growth and contribution.
Yeah.
So many people are stuck at just kind of survival mode. And in those survival needs, they don't really get to go into the place. We have a luxury of going into growth and contribution. And if we can access those needs and find a way to cultivate them, irrespective of our survival needs, we are activating a very, very, very different part of us. Like I said, we're winning because we're growing, we're learning, and we're growing. And as we grow, we become an energetic match for the next level of our lives. We can't create the next level of our life from the same thinking that we're in today. You know, we've got to transcend that.
I fucking love this advice. This is gold. This is gold. So in your book, Just Fucking Do It, it encourages people to take action despite fear. So them steps are great. How do you coach people then through the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome? Because, you know, if I sit with them steps, I'm like, okay, great, got a strategy. 4 days later, I might get a voice that goes, are you really the one? How do you coach people through that?
So that voice is there to protect you. And I think one of the things that we kind of get frustrated with is we think that voice is there to kind of dim us down and it's there to bully us or to like the shitty committee, you know, you're not good enough. But when we reframe that and we say, well, look, that noise is there, but it's there to protect us. But it's like the overprotective, you know, annoying auntie that says things that maybe, you know, it comes from a place of love, but it doesn't come across like that. So the first thing is to reframe that voice and say, okay, I hear you. I see what you're trying to do here. However, I understand that I'm actually safe. I understand that what I'm going to do is not actually going to harm me or put me in some sort of life or death situation. Obviously, if it is, then maybe rethink. But like generally speaking, it's not going to do that. And so what we want to do is we want to just take a moment to reframe. And I say to my clients, I want you into that moment to say out loud, not useful. You might look like you've got Tourette's, but it's a good type of Tourette's.
Say not fucking useful.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Exactly. Not fucking useful. No, you're just on a train, like with these not fucking useful. And the more that you do that, what happens is the mind starts to understand, well, that's not useful. And that thought becomes diminished. You see, when you give attention to that thought then creates the loop back to the emotions, which then continually creates the thought. And we have this negative feedback loop between mind, body, and soul. So what we need to do is we need to break that. And we as humans have this incredible thing called metacognition. We're able to witness our thoughts. We're able to say, oh, I'm thinking that thought, that's not useful, which is extraordinary. It's almost like there's two facets of ourselves. And the facet of ourselves that's saying that is not the facet of ourselves that's our truest spiritual self. It is a facet of ourselves that's learned these stories. So we say not useful. Another way is to imagine that voice in like a really silly voice. Like or like a really like cute voice, but take it away from having power.
Power, yeah.
And the more that you practice this, the more that those thoughts will absolutely diminish.
Love. Great advice. Thank you. I'm really going to go for it today because you're giving it. What is one thing that business owners should stop doing today if they want to grow their business?
Okay. If they want to grow their business, stop thinking that strategy is the thing that's going to get you growth. Strategy is incredibly important, but it is only responsible for about 20% of the results.
Oh my God. So agree with this.
So, you know, if you put 10 people into a room and you gave them all exactly the same strategy and you said, this is going to make you 6 figures this year or 7 figures this year, what percentage of those people do you think will actually execute on that? Less than 20.
Yeah.
You might get 2 of those people, and if you're lucky, 3, but generally speaking, around 2 of those people actually execute on the strategy. Why does this happen? Because the strategy, the actions are governed by the person taking them.
Yeah.
And so you are the person executing on the strategy. If you don't believe that you are good enough, or you're scared of failure, or you're scared of, being judged, or you have a limiting belief that you can't make the money that you want, all of those things are going to, come as roadblocks between you. They're going to cock block you and your strategy, right? And they're going to cock block the results you're going to get, because what have I said before? The subconscious will always win. So when we are like, I need the next course, I need the next Instagram algorithm hacker, I need to know how to use LinkedIn, I need to know how to make the best reels, all of those are incredibly valuable. But if you have the mindset or, the belief system that you're not destined to make the money you want, or that you're not good enough or whatever, that will always, always override the strategy. And I see this all the time. Incredible, smart women who are like, but I don't really think the mindset work's that important. I don't really think the manifestation stuff's really valuable. Okay, some of you will have a good mindset. Some of you will go and get the results. But can you sustain them? Can you hold them? Can you create the money? Or do you want to make millions and feel like an anxious wreck when you're doing it? Do you want to make millions but then lose it all because your wealth container and your consciousness isn't able to hold that? And that is unfortunately what happens, and why so many people that make the money aren't happy, aren't fulfilled, aren't at peace, because their nervous system and emotions are so dysregulated because they've never done this work. So for those that do execute the strategy without doing the work, they'll often find themselves in a very, very uneasy situation later on.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel good. And then it's back to the whole negative energy loop that's going on.
Why is this? I made the money. I thought this was going to make me
Yeah.
happy. I thought these millions were going to make me popular and I was going to feel good enough. It doesn't. It doesn't change that, because that is happening at the unconscious level.
I love that. And I'm a business coach for hair, beauty, aesthetic business owners. And one of the things that I think makes me very different to others in the industry, and everyone's amazing in their own way, just want to say, but I focus on 3 areas with my members: business growth, personal growth, spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Because for me, I created my 7-figure beauty salon, team of 18. I've fully retired from doing the treatments now. It runs itself. If it wasn't for a combination of those 3 things,
Absolutely.
I would never have gotten to that level.
Absolutely.
So when people just go, how do I get more clients? I'm like, okay, well, before that, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm fucked. I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, well, we need to fix that bit.
Absolutely.
Totally. So
Totally.
I love that. That's very I've got full goosebumps the whole way through this. So you have spoken on big stages. You've helped so many people. What has been one or the most rewarding moment as a coach for you?
Such a hard question.
I know, because it's huge, isn't it? Because I bet you've had a million wins.
I think that there have been a few moments I don't think I'll ever forget that have been really poignant in my mind. When I do events and people come up and they've travelled from across the globe to come, and I was at an event where I find it so surreal, and I finished the event and there's like a queue of people for like 2 hours wanting to come and give me a hug, and I hug everybody, and I make it my absolute mission to make sure that I get to see everybody, and there's people like crying, like I've flown from Australia, and I'm like, don't you ever fucking do that again. Like, we can get on a Zoom, like don't do that. But I was at an event once, and there's been a few occasions like this, but this particular one obviously was really poignant in my mind. And this girl sort of walked up to me and handed me a letter, and she said, can you read this later? There was this huge queue to meet me, and she's like, I've got to go get my train. And I was reading this letter on the train home, and basically she hadn't given me the whole full context in the letter, but I found her on social media and spoke to her afterwards. And she's essentially tried to commit suicide, and she'd woken up in the hospital, and she hadn't, and it hadn't worked, thank goodness. And that morning was on Facebook, and she'd come across my videos, and she said like it saved her life. And I met this amazing woman last year who I got to meet her in person, and she was telling me that she had been a drug addict for years. She'd gone through really, 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 really traumatic experiences in her life, and she had gone through respiratory failure and had an operation, and they said, like, you're going to die. And she had £33 left in her bank account, and she was on YouTube, and she came across my videos, and she decided to put her last £33 to come and join my membership. And she said to me, like, she was literally tears coming down her face. I literally was crying. She was like, you don't understand, like, you've saved my life. Like, you're like a real life angel. And I was like, I'm just here to be the messenger. I'm just here to contribute what I've learned. But when I'm in those moments where people say, one of my clients who was on 50 pills a day, she couldn't leave her house because the sunlight interfered with her medication. So she was bedridden. And she joined my academy, and she, within, I think it was like less than a year or a year, whatever, was completely off all medication with no medical intervention. 50 pills a day. She literally showed me all these pill packets. She had a toxic waste hazard bin in her house because she had to get rid of stuff. That's how much medication she was on. And I remember her husband speaking to me like, I don't think you understand what you're doing. And for me, I don't. I really don't. Like, for me, I just do what I do. And it's in those moments that I go, holy shit, like, this really is changing lives at such a deeper level than like, let's make a vision board, right? It's so much deeper, the work that we do, because it is at a level that most people aren't taught how to transform their lives, So, so many incredibly rewarding moments throughout my life. I mean, my husband does not cry. I've not seen him cry. I think he's cried 3 times in the 15 years I've been together. And I did my live event, and there was like, 400 people. There was a packed room, and I came up on stage, and he was like, I was so overwhelmed. Like, my eyes started to like well up. And he literally was like, I've just never felt pride like it ever in my life. He says, wow. I have never, ever, ever felt pride like it. And oh my God, and for him, like, I would go do these events. He never came to because he had the kids, and to see him like stood at I couldn't really see him because it was right at the back, but to go and he was just flabbergasted. He didn't really know what I did. He didn't really know, for him to see queues of people wanting to hug me. So for me, it was like for him as well to see that, and for my kids, to see that, and for them to say like, that's my mummy or whatever. Like, for me, that's really rewarding, because I want to show my girls and my boy, of course, but my girls that they can really go create the life that they want, and they can do it through impact and helping people. So for them to see that, that's really rewarding on another level.
That's fucking special, that is, Noor.
No, so cute.
Wow, that is incredible. And we haven't even, we haven't even picked up on the fact that you're a mum of 4. a mum of 4.
I have 4
all of
little
this,
amazing
and you're
humans.
4, right? Not only do you look 25 years old,
I'll take that.
and you've got this incredible, and you've achieved all this, but you got 4 fucking children. How do you balance work and home? Have you ever got it wrong, so to speak, over the years?
So absolutely. And can I just say, I hate the word balance. It's the first thing that I got rid of. Right. When you think of the word balance, it's like,
it's got to be 50-50.
No, it's like you're on one foot and you can't quite stand up and you're wobbling. So what I like to use instead is harmonize. Mm-hmm. How do I harmonize the different aspects of myself? I'll be really honest with you. All I ever wanted to be was a mum when I was a child. Wow. From the age of 14, I was like, I want to be a mum. I want to have 4 children. And that was my only big dream. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life or career. I just knew that as a child of that, I wanted to be a mum, and I wanted 4 kids. And like trying to find a husband or partner that was like up for that was definitely tricky. And I remember like the second night of meeting Richard in Ibiza, and like we're both smashed. And I'm like, so how many kids would you like? And I think he just said whatever, because he was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I want 4. He was like, okay then. I was like, you're the one.
You are him.
You're the one for me. In the silent disco in Ibiza. And so I just knew in my soul that that's what I wanted to be. So when I quit, when I was trying to set up these businesses on my first maternity leave, do you know what my big, hairy, scary goal was?
Go on.
I got a big piece of paper in a notebook. I wrote down, I want £500 a month. That was my big, fat, hairy, scary freedom number. If I can make £500 to supplement my husband's £1,400 a month he got as a bricklayer, we'd be fucking gravy. Because I could be mum. I could be at home with my daughter and I could be mum. But as I entered this world of personal development, as I entered this world of building businesses, I was like, shit, I found my purpose. That's beyond being a mum. Being a mum is one of my purposes. Being a coach, a businesswoman is another one of my purposes. Being an author is another one of my purposes. We're multifaceted humans with different purposes. And so for me, have I got it right all the time? No, I haven't. My name's Noor and I love working. I love my business. You know, I'm so blessed that for me, it's not like, oh my God, I've got to go do this. For me, it's like, oh my God, this is my job. This is what I get to do. So finding harmony between the different aspects of my life has taken a lot. And it's still, you know, a process that I go through in terms of getting it right. You know, my kids know, like this week, I'm working a lot more because we're going away for 2 weeks. Yeah. And so for 2 weeks, I'm going to be in mum mode.
You'll be present.
I'm going to be in mum mode. I'm going to be present. And
where are you going?
Going to Miami.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're going to Miami and then like South Florida.
Oh, love this.
And
with the 4 kids, it must be mayhem.
Oh, we travel a lot. Last year we did 8 trips away. So for me, I'm not bothered about.
You just know.
I'm just not bothered about. I'm not bothered about like things. You won't find one designer handbag in my house. If robbers tried to rob me, they'd be so disappointed with my H&M jewelry. You know, I have nothing of value in my house really, except for maybe a few beauty devices and that's it, you know. And so for me, the value is in all the memories. And so, my 2-year-old's been to 20, he's 3 now, he turned 3. My 3-year-old's been to 27 countries already, you know.
That's your thing. It's,
Travel is our thing, you know. People congratulate us when we're on planes, like, well done, you made it through the flight with 4 kids. I'm like, mate.
That's light work.
That was fucking light work. We've done Australia, we've done Singapore, we've done Bali. And, you know, and I think for me, that has been such a big part of my why is being able to travel freely with the kids and be able to
You're
do
like Superwoman, Noor. Like.
I don't know about that, but for me, that harmony has to. It's definitely a work in process because I love working, and sometimes those boundaries for me aren't as clear cut. And I think one of the things that I've come to learn is that anything that puts me in any sort of level of restriction doesn't work for me. So, you know, if I can be sat by my boy and he's playing and I'm sat right next to him and I have to take a phone call or I have to, you know, post something on social media or I have to be on my laptop and he's right next to me, he's right next to me. Mm-hmm. If he needs you for anything, if he's happy playing, he's right next to me, right? And sometimes, you know, I have these really present moments with them where I'm playing with them, I'm doing stuff, but actually knowing that I'm there for them all the time, whatever happens, every school match that they want me there, every assembly, you know, I pick them up from school. If, you know, I could be bothered, my husband does it sometimes quite a lot more than me because I'm like, you just did the school run again. But, you know, because my kids are now at different schools, so it's longer.
Yeah, but they get home when you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there all the time. You need me for a conversation, I'm there. You want me for something, I'm there. I can drop what I'm doing at any point to be there with you. And I think that's where I've learned my balance is that my kids fully have me. And if I have to go and pop into my office for 5 minutes to do something, or I have to do, that's okay, because I'm there. And I feel like that level of presence doesn't always need to be 100% all the time, because my kids know if they need me or they need that presence, they've got it within a second from me. So yeah, definitely a journey of kind of understanding that for sure.
Yeah, I love that. You, over the years, have seen some of your wildest dreams come to life. And over the past few years, you have designed and built your own home. That is so impressive. How did this come about? When was this desire born? How did you even build your own fucking house?
So
you know a builder, right? So
yeah. Well, so when in 2010, when me and my husband were boyfriend and girlfriend, I stood in his parents' old house kitchen. I knew him for a couple of months at this point, and I said to him, I just have this big dream that I'm going to build my own house. I loved grand designs. I used to love watching it with my mum and my stepdad. And I used to just be like, one day, a couple of years after that, I was working in this sales job that I absolutely hated. And usually I get sent to the shittest parts of South Yorkshire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire. It was never anywhere nice. And, you know, really rough places. And one day I got sent to this particular part of Sheffield, which I had never been before. And I knew immediately as I arrived in, I was like, where am I? And I was driving up this particular road and I'd heard of this road. It had been mentioned to me before. And as I'm driving up, I remember ringing Richard at the time saying, oh my God, I'm on this road. Every house is amazing. There's these drives. And I said, one day we're going to live in a house like this. And we all have this like one day story. And so that was my like one day. And I genuinely did not envisage that I would have been designing and building my house at the age I did. I thought it was like something that I would do in my 40s or my 50s. It was not ever on my agenda for my mid 30s. It was just that wasn't the case. And we had been living in a very, very small 3-bedroom house. We bought it for 90 grand and we put an extension on it. And that's what we lived in for all of it until I moved into my new house.
Wow.
So I literally...
Because I've seen it on Instagram, right? So I've seen... Yeah. So I'm going, wow, because it's like...
We lived on a really, really normal, like, road, literally 3-bed, every house. We were the only house that was extended because we were the only house that had a corner plot that enabled us to do it. But, you know, our house was like, you know, less than... It was like 1,800 square foot. It was small, you know. When we were looking to buy a new house, I had a vision board of things that I wanted on my house. I was not at all intending to build my own house. Even though that was my deepest desire, that was not an intention. Okay. So we were looking at a house that we could extend, we could renovate. The first house we went and saw would have needed a big extension, and then the buyers pulled out. The second house we saw needed some work doing, but then the surveyor said, no, you can't have this. Annoyingly though, I had this really strict vision. We had been looking for a house for 18 months and I was really frustrated. I really wanted to move. I'd outgrown our house for so many years right now. We're in a position to move. And there were certain few things on the house. Number one, on my vision board, there was, and this was, and Rich said to me, look, let's be realistic. These things probably won't happen in this next house, but next house. I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the divine timing of that. There was a picture of a double bed with floor to ceiling glass windows around the bed. So the bed just looked out and it was just a view, basically, right? I had cherry blossom trees. I had a big drive. I had a beautiful staircase that had, for me, it was like, you know, like at Christmas, I wanted to be able to like weave like shit around the staircase and lights and wreaths. I had a swimming pool. I had the view. You know, it had to have a good plot of land so I could have an outdoor office. So there were certain things that I wanted. And most of the houses that we looked at, we could maybe get like 50% of those things. I wanted a drive, I wanted gates, but not all of them. So these two houses fell through and I was feeling really, really upset and frustrated. And I was like, no, like trust. And we actually went to look at a house in a city next door where you live. And I said to Richard, well, if we're looking here, we might as well extend our city postcodes a little bit further away. And that day that I did that, a bungalow came up for sale and on Rightmove, and I said, Richard, we have to look at this. And I looked at the plot and I looked at the view and I was like, okay. So I got there and I went, this is it, Richard. There was the view. And at this point, by the way, I was still thinking it was going to be extended. It was a bungalow. We were just going to extend it. And so there was 13 offers on it already. It was on, oh, by the way, it was on the exact road that I'd rang Richard from all those years. It was on the exact road, which basically houses are, you know, millions on there. So this bungalow had come up that needed to be extended. This is it. This is the road. The view was there. And we put the offers in and it went to sealed bids. I had this really big intuition just before we did it to raise the price, and I got it. And when we started to do the renovation of it and they designed the house, it ended up, they said, look, there's not really much of the real footprint left. I think you should apply for new planning permission for a new build and you should just build it from scratch. And I was like, we're knocking down a 900 grand house to build a new one. And I remember going, what? Like, that's not the plan.
I'll do that.
But I had to trust I had to trust the universe. And I remember looking at this pile of rubble and I said, do you think we could sell this on eBay for 900 grand? Do you think anyone wants 900 grand worth of? And I remember in that moment that tested my faith at such a big level, because I was like, okay, we're knocking something down to build the dream. Wow. And I think in business and everywhere in life, sometimes we have to knock everything that we know down in order to build the dream. And we started to build this house, and, you know, everything about it, the way that I designed it, you know, it was exactly everything from the cherry blossoms to the view to the floor to ceiling glass windows in the bedroom to the gate to the driveway, you know, to we're going to be putting the outdoor office that hasn't been built yet because stuff. You know, we put the swimming pool in. All of the things ticked off, and every day I come down and look up the view of my living room and I go, because it's all glass. I was like, oh my God, when it was snowing and it was all white, I was like,
this is us.
This is our life. This is what I manifested this. And you told me to be realistic. You told me that it wouldn't happen yet. And now he doesn't. Now he knows I will be as Delulu as I fucking want because that's part of it. Don't stop dreaming big. Those things on the vision board will come. But I took action. I worked on my business. I had faith beyond faith. And that's all practices that come.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. That is such an incredible story. Okay, as we wrap this up and get to the end, quick fire. You've got to choose one. What's your number one manifesting tip? I know this is so hard.
The number one manifesting tip is use the process that I've taught today. And if you don't want to go it by yourself, obviously you can read my books or come and, you know, find me in my academy. But the number one manifesting tip is there isn't one tip. It is a process. And a process that you need to commit to. And when you commit to it, I promise you your life will radically change.
Love that. Give me a breakdown of what you've got available for people. You've got a podcast?
I do. I have the Just Fucking Manifest It podcast. I have my 3 books, Just Fucking Do It, You Only Live Once, and You Are a Fucking Success. The businesswomen here that listen to this, You're a Fucking Success was really written for all of you guys. Crazy manifestation story. Years ago, I was at Heathrow Airport and I went to the business chart. And every single book on there was a male book. So I rang up my agent and I said, one day I'm going to be that woman on that shelf. And in June last year, I went into, in August last year, I walked into Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, into W.H. Smith. And on the business charts, number 9 was me amongst all the men. And I said, and I remember that moment because I remember saying, I stood here and I said I was going to be there. And so that book was really written for all the businesswomen. It's for everybody, but it was really with businesswomen in mind about creating the success that you desire because, you know, wealth in the hands of women can change the world. So we need to be really making sure that we're making our businesses a success. And I have my Just Fucking Manifest It Academy, my membership, which you can join, which will go through the processes that I teach and give you access to every single thing that you need to learn to manifest your life. You will never need to buy another manifestation program ever again.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm sold. I don't know about you guys. So we will link everything in the show notes to your websites, to your profiles and everything. So what are your plans now for life and business going forward?
Ooh,
what
so
you
got
going
secret?
on? Gives an exclusive.
Yeah, to give you an we'll see. There's lots going on. I'm working on a couple of fun secret projects, which I can't talk about yet.
Okay.
However, you know, I'm on a mission to make sure more people understand this and can implement this because, you know, at the end of the day, I believe we're an epidemic of people suffering and we can stop that suffering. And so I want people to have access to this education to help them be able to create the life that they want. And, you know, I'm moving slightly more into working with businesswomen a bit more this year. I have been for 9 years, but it's not something I've made really readily available publicly much. But that's going to be shifting this year because this will be my 11th year in business. You know, I've made close to 5 million now, and I think there's certain things that a lot of women do wrong in business, so I kind of want to help that. But besides that, kind of, you know, traveling. Yeah. I've got lots of travel booked in already this year.
Any more kids?
Absolutely not. I'm done at 4. Done at 4. Happy at 4.
You've got a 7-seater now, surely, so you could get one more.
Do you know what? I had thought about that, but despite the fact you think I look 25. Getting a bit old. My body almost gave up carrying the 4th, so no more for me. So, and I hate being pregnant, so yeah, no.
No, you have been... I knew this was going to be incredible, but this has been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, honestly.
It's our absolute privilege to be able to have you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.